supervision in the examination will be high. And I also expect that teachers, those few bad ones who ordinarily would risk, and collude, will not think twice because they are likely to be dismissed and lose their licenses. So obviously you can never discuss the results, not only the maths results, the integrated science results and all the other results. You can never discuss this WASI result while discounting the implications of these, punitive measures on teachers, invigilators, and their response.
Wow. We'll take a break. This is the point of view tonight. We're reviewing the 2025 WASI results. Two big topics. The results in social studies had a 15% dip. The big one, the results in core maths, 18% dip. Less than 40% of the students had A1 to C6. We are talking to John Kapi. In the studio, we have Kofi Asare. Stay with us. Welcome back. The point of view tonight is taking a deep dive into the 2025 WASI results. We have Kofi Asare, Africa Education Watch, helping us appreciate the matters. John Kapi is the Director of Communications for GES. He's already told us 7 highlights from the examiner's preliminary report in the area of core maths. I mean, quite serious. Some of the students could not interpret a word problem. And essentially, they had issues with graphs, converting equations into graphs. Many had challenges with those as well. He also did give some 3 highlights from social studies, including the inability of students to list government policies that were making people's lives better. I thought that was quite serious. And also being unable to explain why expensive funerals were a problem for Ghanaian society. I mean, serious matters. So what are our students learning? Mr. Kapi, before you leave us, I'd like you to comment on something we heard earlier, that Ghana is moving away from the Ghana-only WASI, and we are going to be taking the international WASI, written by all West African member countries, from next year. What are the implications of that, and how does that change the type of preparation required by students?
First of all, let me just set a certain misconception right. The fact that we were writing later than the other member countries did not actually lower the thing to a local examination. We still followed all the international protocols for the examination. For example, we have, let me use the expression cross-border setting of questions where probably for mathematics, the subject officer or the compiling officer is in Ghana, so he would set the question for Nigeria. So whether we are writing the exam or not, our officer should still be able to compile. Then when it comes to the setting of the standards in terms of marking schemes, the way it is done together with the other member countries. When it comes to the grading, the same thing is done. So it maintained that international coloring, because when it came to the international awards, the excellence awards, there were Ghanaian students who competed and won awards. So I would say that to that extent, we were still doing the international thing, just that we wrote a little later than the other countries. Now, this has been the clarion call. I mean, from the member countries, they wanted us to come on board because it was giving them a double job to do in a year regarding the examinations that we had to write separately. So having come to this level where together with the registrar council and then the Ghana Education Service and the government of Ghana, that we're going to have to write examinations around the same time, it is going to be a blessing to us all, because then we do it once and everybody would have some time on their hands. When we do it separately, it's a lot of work for us as well as for the other member countries.
What does that mean for subjects like social studies, which appear to be country specific. I mean, from your own report you read, the questions on social studies they didn't do well in were Ghana specific. So would that mean that for the WASI, just explain what that means for us.
Okay, so there are certain subjects that are country specific. For example, some people are still doing engineering science, which Ghana doesn't do. They still offer health science that Ghana doesn't offer. We offer social studies that is not offered in other areas. So when we are doing the awards, first of all, we have experts from across who are looking at this one. And so that is why you realize that when we put out statistics, we put out statistics for these 4 major areas. Those are the areas that are looked at. And for us in Ghana here, what will happen is that we'll have to intensify our teaching regarding these subjects in which the candidates didn't do too well. And then we look at ways by which we can improve upon their performance going forward. But then the issue about it being an international examination, of course, will remain as it is.
Kofi, any thoughts on that? The reverting to West Africa, is it a positive news?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Finally, post-COVID, we are managing to fully restore our academic calendar. And for that matter, our participation in West Africa's WASI. It makes it much more easier when you are doing, transnational comparisons. And also, it also helps in a way, to reduce examination malpractice. Because we realize that in those years when there were leakages, many times people will come with sometimes what they call APO, which is not correct APO. But it's actually questions that have been written in Nigeria or Liberia because they were writing different papers. Then they will come and deceive people, just APO quote unquote, and then divert people's attention and focus to these fake questions, and then they end up, not preparing well. And so if you're all writing same paper and writing them at the same time, I think it reduces, such negative occurrences and all that. So we can't wait to see Ghana write WASI with West Africa come next year.
The Center for Policy and Management, CEPIM, a think tank under the Orpington Group, has raised alarm over what it describes as major collapse in the WASI results, or major collapse in the management of secondary education following the drastic decline in the Ghana 2025 WASI results. Now, they say this crisis is not a failure of access, but a fundamental failure of execution and management. The data confirms that systemic administrative lapses over the past year have severely undermined the quality of teaching and learning under the Free SHS framework. The think tank attributed the decline to what it called chronic mismanagement, pointing to the withdrawal of academic intervention grants, the absence of specialized continuous professional development for teachers, and delays in funding that disrupted feeding, logistics, and provision of essential teaching and learning materials. They also highlighted rising examination malpractice as further evidence of a system under strain, with thousands of subject results cancelled and dozens of individuals facing prosecution for compromising exam integrity. Let me go to Kapi first. Do you agree with this, especially the part that talks about rising examination malpractice as further evidence of a system under strain? And they're saying because of the results cancelled and many people facing prosecution for compromising exam integrity, plus other issues they raise. What's your reaction?
You see, we live in a society where it's unfortunate to say, but we are becoming quite permissive when it comes to certain things, where you find out that some people are really not apologetic when it comes to wrongdoing. The issue of examination malpractice. I was reading, I think I saw something about middle school living certificate having been cancelled in 1978 or thereabouts. I don't have it in front of me right now. But so the issue of cheating in examination is not something that is with us. That does not make it a good practice. No, that is what I'm saying. But then maybe the extent to which we are going right now is what is alarming. And we have always raised, a lot of issues about examination malpractice, where we think that people, especially examination candidates, should be allowed to do independent work. When we did our stakeholder engagements across the country, one of the things that came out, especially from administrators of schools, is the fact that they had to go into certain performance agreement with some authorities, and so because of that, they let down their guard in order that they didn't find themselves in the bad books of those who were authority. We submitted all of these reports to the Ghana Education Service, just so that we are able to tell the people who are in charge that these are the challenges they have. And so if it is possible, let us see how we can do away with the practice in order that we'll have a smooth running examination. Now, when it comes to school administration, unfortunately, WAEC has no locus when it comes to that, because we don't have the mandate, if you want, to go out there and observe how schools are run. Ours is simply to look at examinations to ensure that the people that we are working with are applying the rules as expected.
Thank you. Kofi, what are your thoughts on this very serious analysis that a decline in, it calls it a fundamental failure of execution and management, systemic administrative lapses over the past year, undermine the quality of teaching and learning, chronic mismanagement? I mean, quite serious, scathing analysis of the situation.
Yeah, there are portions of it that I agree partially with. I spoke to a couple of teachers who were of the opinion that the interventions as existing prior are not as effectively run, and that they are not getting their motivation for the intervention. I'm talking about some extra classes type that takes place in the schools, especially during the final year. I don't know whether it's for all the schools, but then I have raised that issue with one of the directors of juniors today to check whether is it the case that funding is going to the headmasters and that the money is not going to the teachers, or are they coordinating interventions? But that was one. To say that secondary education collapse is quite serious. If the system had collapsed, we won't be getting this result we are seeing in integrated science and then in English. Okay? So I think that's that's not supported with the evidence. On the rising examination malpractice, yes, I agree that there is examination malpractice, but to say rising examination malpractice is also not supported with evidence. Examination malpractice has been rising since 2018. In 2018, it was about 0.2, rose to 2.5 by 2020, and then 6.9 by 2022. By 2023, we were at 10%, at the highest in our history.
The highest percentage examination malpractice was 2023, which was the same year we had the best results.
Yes, so it has been going up since.
No, but I want you to see the connection.
I don't want to.
The best year of your results in the past 10 years is 2023.
And that was the highest, 10%, according to data from WAEC. So
wow.
I agree with him that examination malpractice is an issue, but I disagree that it just emerged. And that I want to agree that much more prioritized, decisive action is being taken against examination malpractice now. We didn't hear of questions leaking during this year's WASI, but it was a common feature between 2019 and 2022. And so that is where I disagree. In terms of delayed release of funds to run senior high schools, I also disagree. Because we've seen a tremendous improvement in the release of funds to free senior high school. That's why you're not hearing about children starving in schools and all that things that we used to hear about. It's because free senior high school is now being financed from Get Fund, which is by far the most reliable ring-fence funds in Ghana today, even outside the education sector. And so the delays that occasions the payment of suppliers for their foodstuff supplied, or delayed supply of foodstuff because of lack of funding, it's no longer. Previously, free senior high school was financed from GOG and ABFA. Okay, now it's all 100% free senior high, Get Fund, which is the most reliable funding source. So I disagree that release of funds to run schools has gotten worse, or is exacerbating. I don't believe
All right.
that's
to end, what is the most important thing we need to do? We have received 7 recommendations preliminary from the WAEC for math.
Yeah.
And let me repeat them for the sake of emphasis. Representing mathematical information in diagrams, they struggle with that. Solving global math-related problems, struggle with that. Constructing cumulative frequency tables, struggling with that. Making deductions from real-life problems, struggling with that. Solving simple interest applications, struggle with that. Translating word problems into mathematical expressions, struggled with that. Interpreting results from cumulative frequencies, I think there's a repetition. Yeah, for math, that is very serious. This is almost basic.
Yeah, so I think that we must wait for the full examiner's report,
All right.
the chief examiner's report. We'll have the details, question by question analysis of where the gaps were. Then we can have a better appreciation of the direction of policy. I believe that what the GA should be doing, it will be to review the chief examiner's report and then strengthen the conduct of their interventions. The interventions are necessary because we are still in double track. We don't have the number of days we would have wished to spend in school. And so it's always possible, it's always important for you to make sure that while we are operating within this constricted timetable, contact hours are enhanced, expanded, okay? So the motivation required to get that done must be provided by the GES to teachers. And then directed towards the areas that are seen here to be the areas where there are deficits, not only in maths and social studies, but in all the subject areas, okay, so that the teachers are able to identify the areas, the loose points, and then strengthen their teaching and, for that matter, learning in those areas. For me, that's very, very important. I also want to encourage the GES and WAEC to continue to work together to enhance the quality of supervision. I'm happy that WAEC admits that we are gradually improving the credibility of WASI. Yes, we shouldn't be distracted by the policies of it. It's important that we continue to strengthen invigilation, clamp down on bad invigilators who collude. I'm happy that 19 teachers have so far been prosecuted and another 15 or so non-teachers being prosecuted. We want to encourage more of that. If there's evidence of collusion, cancel the results. Let's sanitize the system without fear or favor so that we can be proud of our output after we've joined West Africa, in June next year for the West African WASI.
Let me give the last word to Mr. Kapi. Thanks for staying. What are your final thoughts on this year's results? What's your message to parents who are so disappointed, some of whom may be disappointed that their awards didn't do as well as they were expecting?
Yeah, I think that we would continue with our appeal to well-meaning Ghanaians to frown upon this issue of examination malpractice. Certainly, if the fault is coming from us, we would accept it and probably make amends or apologize and make amends. But then our partners, the Ghana Education Service, and this I'm talking about our teachers who are teaching the children. I guess that we'll be proud if we see our products in very good positions in society and, performing very well, not people that we see in places where there are a lot of complaints about their performance because they cheated their way through. If everybody will come on board, people in society, our whistleblowers who helped us a lot during the course of the year, our opinion leaders, chiefs, and what have you, and not to turn people away from their community because they are being strict in observing examination rules and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I believe that Ghana will be the better for it.
Thank you, Mr. Kapi. Last word to Kofi.
Yeah, we are currently going through the consideration stage for the 2026 budget. WAEC's budget is before Parliament tomorrow, and I'm going to be there personally, lobbying for certain budgets, including WAEC's budget. I'm appealing to the Select Committee on Education in Parliament to enhance, to cooperate and support WAEC to get a budget that will enable WAEC to deploy external monitors to almost every center. I want to see WAEC's presence deepen even more so that the credibility of the process will be much more enhanced. In addition to that, parents should do a favor to their candidates or their awards. Tell them that in the 2026 WASI, they're not going to have any support from anyone. And so they should begin to learn to be independent in their learning and preparation for the examination. Believe in themselves. And once they are able to participate in the teaching and learning that GES will support the teachers to deliver, they should believe in themselves that what they know should be able to take them through. So they shouldn't plan for the examination with any help in mind.
Thank you, Kofi Asare of the Africa Education Watch, and also John Kapi, who is from WAEC. Thanks for watching tonight's edition of The Point of View. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.